The bombers and the vast majority of their victims were Sri Lankan. 24 suspects have been arrested. Government ministers have blamed a local Islamist group, National Tawhid Jamaat. The picture is being painted of an attack by jihadi extremists against mainly Christian and international targets, destabilising the government and sowing chaos. 39 of the 290 dead so far are foreign, 8 are British. In total, 8 bombs, all thought to be suicide attacks, were detonated on Easter Sunday. In the eastern city of Batticaloa, an evangelical church was attacked, killing at least 28 people. In Colombo, hundreds of Roman Catholics had gathered for Easter service at St. Sebastian's Church. This was the deadliest bomb, killing over 100. 6 attacks took place in Colombo, the biggest city in Sri Lanka and a major tourist and business destination. Over 82 people died. A wave of 4 suicide bombs were detonated within minutes of each other from 8:45 a.m. At St Anthony's Shrine, a Roman Catholic church, worshippers were praying as the bomb exploded. 3 luxury hotels were hit at the same time. 2 bombers blew themselves up at the Shangri-La hotel restaurant during breakfast. At the Kingsbury Hotel, a bomb blast through walls and windows. And at the Cinnamon Grand, a suicide attacker detonated a bomb during a popular brunch. Later in the day, a bomb exploded near the zoo in a southern suburb at the new Tropical Inn Hotel. 2 people died and the bomber. The final explosion was at a house during a police raid. 3 officers were killed. And today, detonators were found at a bus station and a vehicle containing explosives blew up as police were dealing with it. It isn't yet clear if that was a controlled explosion, but nobody was hurt. Well, Porrick O'Brien started his day at the San Sebastian Church, where more than 100 people were killed. He reports now on the latest developments, and please be warned, there are distressing images in this report.
At the Church of St. Sebastian's, the saints are smitten. The stained glass smashed, and broken hearts cling onto the building itself. Over 100 of the 290 people killed in the series of coordinated terrorist attacks in Sri Lanka died worshipping here on Easter Sunday morning. It's one of 8 locations, mainly churches and hotels frequented by foreign visitors, that were targeted. St. Sebastian is the beating heart of the Catholic community in the town of Colombo, just north of the capital, Colombo. As of this afternoon, local time, the death toll is at 290 people. Over 500 people have been injured. The world is reeling, Sri Lanka is reeling, but of course, at its heart, this is an attack on a neighbourhood, on a congregation, on families. Like here at St. Sebastian's Church, all around us as we speak, funeral after funeral after funeral is taking place. Most of the victims of the attacks are Sri Lankan, but dozens of foreign visitors were killed and injured too, including 8 British nationals. This afternoon in downtown Colombo, security services conducted a controlled explosion on a van near one of the other churches attacked, the assumption being that the vehicle belonged to the attackers. Police have now arrested 24 people. The President's office declared a state of emergency from midnight tonight local time, and social media networks have also been blocked. The government here has blamed a local jihadist group called National Tawhid Jamaat, who they say had help from international networks. The Sri Lankan Prime Minister issued a statement in the last few hours. It turns out that there was some sort of tip-off ahead of this attack. A letter has emerged sent by a police official to security authorities which names the jihadist group and warns of attacks on Catholic churches. The letter is dated the 11th of April. It also says that the tip-off had come from a foreign intelligence service. The Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said he had not been made aware of the warning. While Sri Lanka has endured decades of civil war, it has little history of militant Islamist violence. If that's what this turns out to be, it is a deeply worrying development with possible repercussions throughout the region. It's on the side streets around St. Sebastian's Church that you get a real sense of what this actually means in this neighbourhood. Virtually everyone you see walking down this street is on their way to a funeral, is on their way to a wake. And we've just been invited to the wake of a mother and father who lost their lives just up the road from here. Dr. Sanath Fernando and his wife Indra lie in state at their house around the corner from St. Sebastian's. The devout couple were in the middle of the congregation on Sunday morning. Their eldest son, Sandesh, couldn't get a seat in the packed church and stood outside. His younger brother, sister and himself are left behind. So this 15-year-old doesn't have time to grieve.
Yes, there is nothing to
There's nothing to say, really, is there? Yeah.
I have a big responsibility to my younger brother.
Yeah. So you have to stay strong for your family now, I guess, don't you? Yeah. A very brave young man, a very brave young face, in his own way, staring down the terrorists.
Well, among the 8 confirmed British victims, the British lawyer Anita Nicholson, along with her 14-year-old son Alex and her daughter Annabelle, aged 11. Her husband Ben, the only member of the family to survive the blast, said in a statement, mercifully, all 3 of them died instantly and with no pain or suffering, saying his children had shared with their mother the priceless ability to bring joy to the lives of all they came into contact with. It's also emerged that 3 of the 4 children of the ASOS fashion billionaire Anders Hogg Poulsen were also killed in the attacks. Well, joining me now is the broadcaster Faraz Shaukat. Let's just talk about why there is a curfew and a social media crackdown. It is because of the very real risk of violence on the streets now, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. Sri Lanka has, as you know, and as Channel 4 has reported in the past, has had a problem with racial disharmony, communal disharmony. And that came to an end in 2009. And the government obviously felt that with this absolutely barbaric attack and completely caught the government and the entire country unawares, felt that there was a real possibility of a return to communal violence.
And they've been trying to sort of ride 2 strategies in a way, haven't they, and not saying who's responsible. And yet, government ministers have blamed this relatively small, because it's a small community in this country, Islamist extremist group. Is it credible?
Well, it's incredible to believe that a small group, homegrown, can cause so much of carnage and have such a huge impact. There has to be some sort of other hand, an unshown, perhaps an international hand. But the bottom line here is this, that in Sri Lanka, what we have seen is, after this incident, is an appalling lack of political leadership. There has been no leadership right across the board. And what they have now engaged in, and we can see it happening already, is a blame game. For the last 4.5 years, they've done nothing but engage in the great fudge. They've done nothing, absolutely nothing in terms of what they promised. They promised a return to transparency, accountability, a level playing field, an end to corruption, nepotism and political patronage. None of these they've delivered.
This is partly because of the constitutional situation here, whereby you have a directly elected president who has his power base and the prime minister who has his power base, and these 2 men are at odds. The president tried to sack the prime minister last year. Where does that leave a country like this at a time like this when it needs real leadership and to get to the bottom of what happened?
The entire problem has been caused by the 19th Amendment to Sri Lanka's constitution, which envisaged a clipping of the president's powers, which they felt was unfettered. However, what this has meant, the way the 19th amendment to the Constitution was written, means that the president is reduced to almost an eunuch. He has no... On the one hand, the Constitution gives him the right to be in charge of law and order and defense. But on the other hand, he doesn't have the right to sack a minister who isn't performing.
But very shockingly, it's also been revealed by those ministers that the president's security apparatus was warned about an attack like this more than 2 weeks ago and didn't act on it.
That's right. It is absolutely shocking that Sri Lanka's intelligence services delivered as they've done in the past, and they've warned the ministers and the president, the prime minister, everybody. Although some of these ministers
But they're denying that.
But now they deny it. And that's why I say that we can see a classic blame game starting. And it is all indicative of an appalling lack of political leadership, and all the government ministers and the government apparatus is involved in or wants is to stay in power. The people's needs and the people's wants are completely ignored. And this is what we've seen for the last 4.5 years.